Last Saturday, it was the national funeral for the unknown victim of traffic violence, which is an event that was created by a group called Stop Killing Cyclists. The unknown victim of traffic violence, as we all know, is more than just cyclists. It's motorists, it's pedestrians, be that children, pensioners. It's also people who suffer from respiratory diseases because of the ridiculous car-based transport infrastructure that we have. And we gathered in Bedford Square in London, and they'd organised a horse-drawn hearse and a bagpipe player. We processed down Tottenham Court Road, and silence reigned. People saw this hearse and thought, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Protests like this really platform those social injustices that are pushed under the carpet and ignored, because cyclists die and people are not prosecuted. There are people here from all demographics, and we're united by one issue, which is the unsafe nature of our roads that we use every day. And coming together and knowing that there's a community of people who are fighting and working towards something better is always empowering, but it's also a very strong message. When I moved to Sussex, I didn't really know what I was letting myself in for. I had heard that it was political, but I didn't really think I was into that kind of thing. Occupy Sussex was born out of a campaign that had been going for nearly a year at the point where the occupation started. It came to the 7th of February, a Thursday, and a demo was called for 1 p.m. meeting in Library Square, and hundreds of people turned up. Myself and around, I think it was 60 others, ended up occupying the conference centre that night. And there was one person, she was saying, is this an occupation or not? And I was sort of like, well, I don't know what an occupation is. We were there with a very clear political message, which was we wanted to stop this privatisation, and this was a venue we tried to platform those voices. So during the occupation, it was an all-consuming affair. I mean, looking back at my notes, I can see that I was doing other things at the time. Life was going on, sort of thing. But it was very much, that was what I was doing. I was living there, eating there. Everything I did sort of fed back to it. So it was constantly in my mind, because it was such a profound thing to be involved in. It was a space that was completely centred around the idea of community. After Occupy ended, I deliberately went home before the injunction was carried out with bailiffs, and I saw footage from home, watching it on live stream, that my friends were being dragged away by the police. Just overwhelmingly, the feeling was of heartbreak, because this space that had become so precious to me, where all my friends and people that I cared about and were inspired by could gather, was no longer, and it no longer exists, and it can't exist. And I feel homesick still, 2.5 years on, for this place that can never exist again. It was so much of its time and place. The first priority of an activist is to look after themselves. I lead mindfulness woods walks on Friday at university. I direct people to remember the situation they're in, the fact that they're in the woods, and direct them to feel the sensation of air on their skin and how the light shines in dapples on their skin. It's that capacity to dream that you could make a difference. It could be something so tiny, but everything you say to a living being has an impact. Everything you do has an impact. It just depends what that thing you do is. And that's the most valuable lesson I learned from activism. I'm never just one person. I've always got ideas that are shared by other people. It's just about giving them the confidence and the space for those activist dreams to grow and flourish and become something that is changing the world we live in for the better.